Let's bring in now our fantasy experts, Jamey Eisenberg and Heath Cummings. And Jamey, I have to give you props because Raheem Mostert was your start of the week. He comes out and had a great day yesterday. So when it comes to winners, he certainly was one, wasn't he?
He absolutely was, as was his backfield teammate in Devon Achane. So 96 PPR points from those two guys is pretty impressive, but you would expect that when they're scoring 70 points. But Tua was great, but I think another quarterback deserves some love as well, and that's Jordan Love, who's had 3 straight strong fantasy performances. And you got to give the guy some credit. First, rallying from a 17-point deficit against a really good Saints defense. But doing this through the first 3 games without his best receiver in Christian Watson, 2 games without Aaron Jones, 2 games without his left tackle, 1 game now without one of his other offensive linemen in Jenkins. And he's getting the job done. And I just can't wait to see what this offense is going to look like when he has his full complement of guys, because he might be without, again, his 2 best pass catchers when you're down Christian Watson and Aaron Jones. But Romeo Doubs has now had 2 of 3 good games. You saw Jaden Reed step up in this game after, again, the struggles early on, but had a good, strong week 2 game. Luke Musgrave's been a little bit productive, could certainly get some more out of him. But I think Jordan Love has worked his way into the conversation as a must-start fantasy quarterback, especially given some of the struggles with someone, let's say, like Justin Fields, or the injuries that we're dealing with now with somebody like Anthony Richardson.
And I absolutely loved what I saw from Ken Walker. Yes, of course, the big plays running the ball. That's no surprise, though. We saw that last year as well. But the involvement in the passing game and how well he did in that role. Listen, Zach Charbonnet looked good as well. But I had concerns that Charbonnet was going to cut into Ken Walker as a must-start fantasy running back. Those concerns, you don't have to worry about those anymore. Also, Sam LaPorta, speaking of must-start, he is at tight end, partially because of the position, partially because of how involved he's been. But really, the big winners, fans of the Houston Texans, this quarterback wide receiver duo, CJ Stroud, Tank Dell, 2nd week in a row that Dell leads the Texans in targets. And what I really love about it is he's shown an ability to win on all parts of the field. You look at what he did 2 weeks ago, caught 7 of 10 targets, didn't have a catch that went for more than 23 yards, really dominated underneath. And then this week averages 29 yards per catch, 2 big, deep plays down the field. That's an elite wide receiver. Now, it's too early to say that right now, but that's an elite wide receiver if you can win at all levels of field. Dell's doing that right now.
Yeah, the Texans feeling very good about having CJ Stroud, making my Panthers feel like that we are losers as of right now by having Bryce Young instead. That brings us to losers when we look at a fantasy perspective. Heath, where are you looking there?
Oh, man. A.J. Dillon, Drake London, Hunter Henry, those 3 guys, I understand if you're considering dropping all 3 this morning. Absolutely disastrous performances. I think Henry and Dillon, much easier to drop than Drake London. I'd like to hold for at least a couple more weeks just because he is very talented. You almost hope they change things over to Taylor Heineke. And then Justin Fields, the biggest loser. We were all talking about him as a potential top 5 fantasy quarterback this season. We expected him to make a big leap as a passer with DJ Moore. We have not seen any evidence of that at all. I'm not even thinking about dropping Justin Fields yet because he plays the Denver Broncos. Oh yeah, the team the Dolphins just hung 70 on. I'll give him 1 more week, but he's on notice.
Yeah, so is Trevor Lawrence. Talk about a guy that we had high expectations for. It's been a struggle. Clearly, the Jaguars are 1-2. Now, you probably expected them to lose to the Chiefs, but to lose to the Texans at home, that's an embarrassing loss, and he did not get the job done. Calvin Ridley's got to hold on to the football as well when he's getting touchdown opportunities like that. But Trevor Lawrence is certainly underwhelmed. I do hope he bounces back in London against the Falcons, as we've seen the Falcons struggle at times against quarterbacks. But when you see a couple of big names on this list in terms of Najee Harris and DeAndre Hopkins, they're just not getting the job done right now. And Najee should be on the verge of losing his job. I don't think it's all his fault. The offensive line for Pittsburgh has been absolutely atrocious when it comes to their run blocking. But Jaylen Warren, every time you watch him, it looks like he just has more juice. And at some point, the Steelers might have to just consider starting Jaylen Warren, giving him the chance to see what he can do with a full workload. But when you can't run on the Raiders, we just saw in week 2, James Cook go for over 120 total yards. Latavius Murray and Damien Harris both scored touchdowns against the Raiders. I know it was a short week for the Steelers, and they had to go on the road, so could give them a little bit of a pass. But my gosh, if he doesn't get the job done against that team, can you really trust him even in a good matchup in week number 4? So Najee Harris is getting very, very close. Again, not going to drop him, but certainly cannot start him anytime soon based on the struggles he's had so far this season.